It started with a YouTube video. Dr. Naomi Ellison had stumbled upon it one quiet Sunday afternoon while procrastinating on grading her sociology students' midterms. The video was light-hearted, animated with stick figures and trees, a cheerful narrator guiding viewers through the process of building a family tree. At first, she let it play in the background, half listening as she scrawled red marks over poorly structured thesis statements. But as the narrator pulled out dusty letters and unearthed yellowed photos, Naomi found herself closing her laptop and leaning in. It was odd, the way a silly video sparked something. She wasn't typically sentimental. Her field revolved around social structures and systems, not personal nostalgia. But the idea of learning who she came from, beyond her parents and the handful of stories her grandmother used to tell, suddenly struck her as urgent. Necessary. That night, after Mark had gone to bed, Naomi signed up for every free genealogy database she could find. She listed what she knew: her mother's hometown in Alabama, her father's military service, her grandmother's full name, Eunice Dolores Freeman. Within days, hints began to surface. Connections to families in Louisiana. Census records with familiar surnames. A few even had photographs. Naomi became consumed. What started as a casual search spiraled into late nights filled with digitized archives, death certificates, and ship manifests. One evening, Mark came into the living room to find papers spread across the table. Timelines, maps, crude family trees with notes scribbled in the margins. "You're obsessed," he said, amused. "I'm just interested," Naomi replied, half smiling. "Well, let me know if you find any royal blood." But the further Naomi dug, the less noble the history became. In fact, it became disturbing. She stumbled across a 19th-century plantation ledger from Georgia, where the name Ellison appeared frequently, not as a landowner, but listed beside phrases like female, aged 16, childbearing potential, and male unruly, keep chained. Her chest tightened. Could they be related to her Ellisons? A deeper dive confirmed the link. A land deed, an old church registry, a probate record, all connected to Richard D. Ellison, plantation overseer, slaveholder. Her blood. Naomi stared at the screen in silence, trying to imagine the lives of these people, her people, reduced to transactions. She thought about the way her grandmother used to go quiet whenever someone brought up the old country, how her mother once referred to their roots as buried deep and better left alone. Now Naomi understood why. But she couldn't stop. Not now. She followed one name in particular, Lena, through several documents. Lena had been 23. She had refused to bear children for her master. She'd been punished. The records didn't specify how. Then Naomi found the entry that made her nauseous. One killed. Retaliation. Night of fire. Beside that, a name, Lena. She sat back in her chair, hands trembling. She stared into the reflection of her laptop screen, seeing her own face overlap with the woman's name. The shape of her cheekbones. Her grandmother's line, "You've got Lena's bones, baby." Now she knew what that meant, and what it cost. She didn't tell Mark immediately. At first, Naomi wasn't even sure how to explain it. This wasn't just a historical detail. It was a wound, pulsing with heat and horror. A rupture in the illusion of the self-contained present. But after 2 sleepless nights, she sat him down in the kitchen and slid a stack of printed records across the table. Mark read slowly, sipping coffee. His brow furrowed as he moved through the documents. Plantation registries, census logs, sales records. His eyes stopped at the name, Pembroke. "That's my mom's side," he said softly. Naomi watched him. "I know. What are you saying?" Your ancestors owned the plantation. Mine were enslaved on it. Silence. Mark leaned back, rubbing his temple. I didn't know. I'm not accusing you. No, but you're making it personal. Like I should feel guilty. Naomi looked at him, her expression unreadable. I don't want you to feel guilty. I want you to understand. The conversation spiraled. He asked why she was dredging up the past. She countered that it wasn't the past. It was their story, stitched into their DNA whether they liked it or not. Later that night, she overheard him on the phone with his brother. She's acting like it's my fault. Like I lit the match myself. Naomi felt her throat tighten. She didn't cry. She couldn't. Instead, she opened her laptop again. She needed answers. Closure. Something. The archivist in Georgia, whom she'd reached out to weeks ago, finally replied. Attached was a scan of a brittle, crumbling page from an 1859 ledger. It listed Lena by name. Age 23. Refused to breed. Burned in cabin. Beside it, in ink that had bled from time, the words, necessary example. Naomi's breath stopped. She clutched the printed page against her chest, her entire body shaking. How do you mourn someone you never met? How do you make peace with a death so monstrous, so intimate? The next morning, she told Mark she was flying to Georgia. He didn't argue. When she arrived at the remnants of the Pembroke estate, she found little more than overgrowth, rubble, and silence. But as she stood beneath the mossy oaks and felt the soil beneath her boots, she imagined Lena, breathing, resisting, dying here. She knelt in the dirt and whispered, I found you. And for a moment, the wind held its breath. Returning home felt surreal. Naomi moved through her house like a guest. The walls, the hallway, even Mark's voice felt muted, distant. He tried to act normal. He greeted her with a kiss, asked how the trip went, offered to order Thai for dinner. But Naomi wasn't interested in pad Thai or small talk. You've read the diary entries I sent? She asked as they sat at the table. Mark hesitated. I read some. She nodded, jaw tight. You didn't want to see it. It's not that. Then what? He sighed, pushing his plate away. It's overwhelming, Naomi. It's awful. But I don't know what you want me to do. I can't go back and change it. I'm not asking for time travel, she snapped. I'm asking for empathy. For acknowledgement. I do acknowledge it. No. You flinch from it. You treat it like something shameful I should stop bringing up. They sat in silence. Even the clinking of cutlery had stopped. Naomi stood up and retrieved a folder from her bag. She placed it in front of him, her manuscript. Read this, she said. All of it. Then we can talk. Mark stared at the cover. Bloodlines and Burdens, the inheritance of American silence. That night, Naomi worked late in her office, tracing Lena's possible descendants. She found living relatives, scattered across states, many unaware of their shared past. She emailed one, then another, and slowly, replies trickled in. One woman, Carol in Missouri, wrote, My grandmother spoke of a Lena who burned but never bowed. If she's yours too, we're kin. Naomi felt something break open in her chest. A warmth. A small, flickering flame of solidarity. Not all was lost. Not all was buried. Weeks passed. Mark read the manuscript twice. He didn't say much at first, but something in his demeanor shifted. He started asking questions. Listening. He joined Naomi at a lecture she gave on intergenerational trauma. He watched as students wiped tears from their eyes. One day he said, "I want to visit the ruins. I want to see it too." So they went, together. They stood on the overgrown trail where the Pembroke house once loomed, now swallowed by ivy and time. Naomi showed him where she'd found the charred brick. Mark crouched down and touched the soil. He didn't speak, but his eyes said everything. Later that year, Naomi and several descendants of Lena met at the site. They built a small memorial. Just a wooden marker, a name carved in by hand. Lena. Resisted. Remembered. As the wind passed through the trees, Naomi felt something loosen inside her. Not forgiveness. Not forgetting. But presence. She and Mark began therapy. It was hard. Some weeks they barely spoke. Other times they fought. But they stayed. They stayed in it. And Naomi continued her work, speaking, writing, remembering. She taught her students not just to study history, but to feel it, to carry it. Because blood remembers. Because bones remember. And because, sometimes, the fire meant to destroy you becomes the very thing that lights the way.